Now that we've cut out the fabric pieces, oh, and by the way, I know that I smack my table a lot. Sorry about that, guys. I've already been called out on it, and I talk with my hands, so I don't know how to stop doing that, but I will try really hard for you, okay? Now that I have all the pieces cut out, it's time for me to check the fit of these. So I'm going to use my twin sister here. You know, she needs a name. I would love for some help with a name on this girl, because calling her my twin sister is just, I don't know, it doesn't cut it, right? I use Dressmakers chalk. I really like the shape of it, and since this is a really dark blue, it's the perfect thing to use. I'm going to measure how far this dart is from the edge of the pattern piece, of the original pattern piece. I'm going to turn this around some. Here we go. This is much better. It is 2 3/4, so I'm going to put the edge of it here on the edge of my new pattern with my additional pattern paper. Just going to walk that little ruler right around to there. Interesting. It actually comes out a lot closer, a lot further up. This is Abby. She's a bad girl. I probably should not have shut my door with her inside. We'll see if this works out with her being part of the party here. I'm just going to take my snippers and make a little snip. Yes, ma'am, I know. And I'm just going to snip this piece. See, I don't use a lot of pins. So I'm going to just snip this out. If you guys don't have these little snippers, they're really great. I'm not sure where they came from, but you can find them online. Amazon is where I get a lot of my things. These snippers, though, are fantastic. They're super sharp. This is my second pair in 6 years. They're about $15, so they're a great investment. And they come with, I'll show you. The cap, they fit right inside the cap, and it comes on a ring like this. So I hang mine on my thread table. It's an earthquake. This earthquake provided to you by Miss Abby. Time to get her out of here, huh? Come on, Abby. You're just being a bad girl. Yes, I know. Can you hear her? She's a very vocal kitty. Oh, she does not like being held. She loves to be petted, but she hates to be held. Sorry, sweetie, you have to go. There we go, baby. Okay. Now we shouldn't have any more earthquakes. I hope she didn't change the camera a lot. So I've snipped this piece out on both sides. Got a few more snips to make. Really important guide for me is the dart. I'm just going to open up the pattern paper a smidge right there where the darts are. Rub my chalk in there. Oh yeah, I can see those really well. My short Omni grid ruler. I love this one. It's only 1 foot and I use it for all of my small jobs. So line up my dots for my dart. Draw that one out. Then I just flip my pattern over, guys, and I use the same pattern piece. Lay it in here backwards. Also, some of you asked me about this cutter that I use. This is a rotary cutter, of course. The type I usually have been using most of my life, I can't get to it, it's back there, is the 45mm gray one that has the orange on it from Fiskars. That's what I used for years and years. I love using a rotary cutter to cut fabric because it makes everything so much faster. I'm also a big-time quilter, so of course that's the only way to cut straight lines. This one I had to switch to. Last February of 18, I had to have wrist surgery because I could not use my wrist anymore, especially because I'm left-handed. This one had just become very non-functional. So I had wrist surgery in hopes of improving it, but I could not. I mean, it was pretty scary. I thought I would have to give up sewing, and there's no way I could give up sewing. My doctor said, you just need to stop doing repetitive movements. Well, you know as well as I, rotary cutters, you put a lot of pressure down and you go. It puts a lot of strain on your wrist bones, and I had one that was actually disintegrating and dying. So they went in, they removed that bone and fused it. I found this ergonomic cutter. This is so awesome. You hold it in your palm, your finger fits on top, your thumb, there's actually a little spot here for your thumb to fit. And it really balances the pressure into your whole hand, not just your wrist. It really puts a lot of that force up here into your hand itself and takes it off the wrist. This has been a godsend for me. Now my problems are over. We found out what all of this bone degeneration that I was having was caused from. And so now we're working at improving that in a different way. But this thing has been awesome. Even if I didn't need ergonomic, this type is so much easier to use. This one is called Martelli, and I'll put that on the screen. Martelli is where I got it from. I also just recently ordered new blades. So the blades last a long time, and that 60mm surface cuts a tremendous amount of space compared to, or length compared to the 45mm. One run from this and you've gone so much further. So love this piece too. I also love these little flat pins. They're so great. My little flat dress pins. If you don't use these, they really make it nice when you're sewing. If you do have to pin things, this doesn't fight with the foot. I usually try to pin away, but this doesn't interfere with the foot. But the most important thing about this is when you're cutting out patterns, it keeps everything flat. So you don't have any competition for your rotary blades. It doesn't bulk up your pattern from your fabric or anything. These are awesome. So those are my favorite tools that I use. Okay, so I've got both sides marked now of this bodice front. Got my darts marked. Just gonna pin these real quick onto my girlfriend. Now, I made this, I did not cut this on the fold because of my own fit. You'll need to decide what you need to do. You know how your clothes fit you best. This should give you a really good display of how my back seam is curved in a bit to contour. The back center seam, or if it's a fold and it doesn't have a back center seam, that's a great opportunity for shaping. I talked about it to death on the first tutorial. But it is very true. It's a great spot to help you get a good fit. Okay, I'm going ahead and pinning these side seams together. When you're pinning onto a bust form, you want to do your best to emulate that 5/8 inch seam that it's going to have. If you only pin a little bit of it together or you overpin too much, you won't get accuracy. And because I like my bodice to be fitted, like the top that I'm wearing, I made this from my sloper, but just like this top, if the top is fitted, I feel, especially from the front, I know I look slimmer. You can't really see my tummy. Boy, when I turn around, you can sure see my tummy then. But I like the top to be more fitted because that is my smallest spot. And that is how it is for a lot of us, even though we might have this underarm chub and the back chub back there. Oh, wow, you guys. Okay, so just pinning the seams together. Look at how perfect this is. What I don't like is that my bra strap's going to be right there. So let's see. The side is really loose. The back looks great. Now remember how I gave myself that extra inch on the back? I'm going to actually take up that extra inch. I'll do it here where maybe you can see it. The front was fine. This front is a little bit loose, but a little bit loose is okay. I'm going to overdo that back by that 1 inch mark and pay attention to the 5/8 seam allowance for the front piece while overcompensating a full inch for this back section. And most definitely I need to follow or do this whole pin job, which I am not doing very effectively right now. Kind of hard. Ah! Driving me crazy. I do enjoy the challenge of it. Doesn't mean it doesn't still drive me crazy. Still drives me crazy. I'm going to try to slip this over my head and see what I think before I go any further. Because loose right here on me just really adds weight to my upper body. This is the one place I can get a good fit and my clothes be more flattering. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut away, put this top on, and just see how it comes out, okay? Wow, you guys, I am actually really happy with this. I have my bra on that I'll wear with this dress, and I'm pretty darn happy with it. But I'm really happy with where the neckline hits me. I like the way this looks. The only problem I have, which I said I would have before, is I always have to take a fisheye dart in the back. And if you look at the back of this, it does hang very nicely. I'm looking in the mirror at the same time. It hangs very nicely, but I could get a little more shaping. Maybe if I pin the back in just a little bit. I could do the fisheye darts. I'm not going to wear the midriff look. But I just wanted you guys to see how great this looks. I just have to make sure that my darts stop right down here. You always want the tip of your dart to end about 1 inch from the center of your breast, which is where your nipple goes. You never want it to come all the way up to the edge like this. Not an attractive look. First order of business, I need to take that extra inch that I added to the back and just remove that. So I'll do that now. I want to transfer this dart over real quickly. And now I'm taking this extra piece off of this pattern piece because I know now that I don't need it. Okay, so one thing I need to do next is stitch the center back seam together because there isn't one originally on the pattern. I also know I need to stitch my darts down on the front. Then I need to look at my directions, which I am terrible at following directions because I don't really use patterns anymore. I know the order that I like to cut in and sew in, but I'm going to check the directions out and see what order they give us, and I'll discuss that with you, okay? I've got this opened up, and the order that it gives me for sewing is to stay stitch the neckline, of course. I'm going to do that 1/4 inch from the edge, regardless of what they tell me to do. Oh, guess what? They tell me to only do it 1/4 inch from the edge. Sometimes that's not how they do it. They also say to sew it up this way. Start from the center front and sew up to the shoulder line. I always do that also. It just it prevents you from stretching or pulling your fabric around if you sew it continuously. If you start here and you sew to here and back to there, you're going to get stretches in your fabric that you don't want. It is best to just do it the correct way. Bespoke clothing has a lot of time invested in it. So all of these steps that are too cumbersome or whatever you might think, which I have definitely been a culprit of feeling that way in the past. The bespoke clothing, the high quality clothing, when you're spending a lot of money and investing in good fabrics, it's just worth it. It's worth it to take the time under those circumstances. So that's what I'm going to talk about, is how to just do this dress the right way so that it looks the most professional and does not look like you made it yourself. But you can still brag about the fact that you did. And then, of course, I have to do the darts. We stay stitch the back neckline also. Oh, so they put the neck binding in right away. I like the way this pattern is laid out, guys. This is awesome. Oh, but when we get to the sleeve, they do tell you to sew the side seams and then sew the sleeve inside that circle. That is a cumbersome step that is totally unnecessary. I like to put my sleeves in flat. It's just so fast and so easy. Doesn't change a darn thing about the way it looks. And it actually ensures that you have a more attractive look to your seams because you don't have to fuss on the fit or anything. When you put a sleeve in after the side seams have been sewn in, wherever you have little fit issues, it can get really wonky, and I don't like that. I'd rather just put it in flat. So we're going to go ahead, sew these darts. We will stay stitch the necklines, and we will put in the neck binding. I'm going to examine the way they do it and make sure that I'm okay with the way it's going to look. I'm not a big fan when it comes to making my clothing look bespoke. I'm not a big fan of bindings. I prefer lining the entire bodice. That said, it isn't always necessary. This one right here, I put a binding on this, and I also bounded it an inside binding on these sleeves, and this doesn't look like I handmade it at all. So I might be okay with that. I have to think on it. Another thing that makes a really big difference with the look of your clothing, the finished look, is how you finish all kinds of things, including how you iron out pleats and seams. So my husband made this for me. I wanted something that wasn't as big as a ham, so I just patted up this block of wood that he cut for me. And I like to take my darts, run them across the curve. And I like to pull that dart out and really iron those darts on a curve like this, because that's what they're going to be on. That's what they're there for, is to shape a curve. So I like to put it right out there, pull that point out, and really let it get shaped. So nice. Okay, something I just thought about was, since I am not completely facing the bodice on the inside, I'm going to have all these unfinished seams. That is not okay with me. I can't stand that. So, in the interest of just making this pattern a whole lot like they say, I'm going to finish the edges of my seams. The only ones I've sewn together right now is the back. I'll finish the edges of all my other seams on my serger, and then I will continue from there. So all I have to do with this one, I've got my blade dropped because I don't need it cutting anything for me. I'm just gonna serge off my edges. All right, one edge down. I'll do the rest. All right, I have edged all of my pieces. My front piece all the way around. I don't need to serge the neckline because that's going to be bound. I also did all around the edges of the back piece with the exception of the neckline and both of those inside seams. I will do my skirt pieces also, and anything else that's going to have an edge that's just hanging out there inside my pattern. Okay, I'm back working on Simplicity 8910, the blue dress pattern, and I basted the sides together right where the seam goes anyway, and I tried it on, and this back just I don't like the way this back fits on me. It stays way out away from my back, so I decided I definitely need to put fisheye darts in it for me. That's my preference. So I pulled my sloper back out because the decisions have already been made there, right? I'm just going to line up my sloper, line the arms up, put these fisheye darts in. I think what I'll do is move this fisheye dart. Goodness, now I have to think about what I'm going to do with this. Almost this entire fisheye dart is right here. But that's what I'm going to do. I know that this is the way my back slopes. Keep my arm size right where it goes. Keep this right on the edge. This is where my back slopes. So I'm putting the fisheye dart in right here. I will make sure when I attach the pattern, the skirt, when I'm folding in the pleats, I'll make sure that a pleat ends up right here, just so that it looks continuous, okay? So I'm going to do that. You ready to speed up? Here we go. Got them all marked out, guys. Time to pin them together and sew them up. Let's get to it. Okay, let's sew up these fisheye darts. The lines are straight, but I'm going to slightly curve them because my body curves. And you know what else? I want to put my needle in a center position. For me, it's just easier to follow, to put my chalk line inside that part of the foot. The noise you hear in the background is Abby Cat having a good time. Let's see. Okay, we've got it on 2.5. All right, we're ready to sew. I'm curving it. Got these pins in here upside down. Sewing it off. Curving it out. Curving it out. I find that a 2.5 on my machine is a very small stitch, so I don't need to do any kind of change in my stitch length when it comes to the ends of my darts. All right, I'm going to press that out so you can see now. Look at the curve that this line has. It's quite curved. It's always better to press curved lines over a curved form. You just get it much truer. I want to put this piece on, this bodice on. Now the sides are still basted. I just want to see how this fits me. Now it's over a t-shirt right now, but I want to see how this fits me. Oh, that back. Do you see the way the back is? That's what I like. I like it to just fit my back. This is so much better. I'm really happy with the way this looks. Not crazy about this neckline. I told you I really prefer to fully line my bodices. One of the benefits of fully lining the bodice is, number one, you don't get any stitching lines. You don't have to do that. Number two is that it covers up all of your seam work on the inside. So you have a really nice clean finish. And then what I would normally do on the skirt part of the dress is French seam that. And then all of my fabric is all enclosed in all of my stitch lines. But I love the way this looks. I love the way it's fitting me. Isn't that pretty nice? I hope when I attach these arms that I can move around in them. Okay, I'm going to run to the dryer and see how my new fabric from Hobby Lobby is doing. And then I'll come back and we'll read those instructions. Upon further inspection, there is way too much fabric here. Way too much fabric. It's very bunchy. I don't want that look. I realized that my sloper is cut for sleeveless, and I do, when I tuck in a hemline, this is how I like my sleeveless tops to look on me. I like them to just curve right there. So that's nice for sleeveless, but with a sleeve, I'm not so sure that all of this fabric is such a good idea. So I'm actually going to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to take a little bit off of this, just right in here, because that is, well, it's almost an inch. So I'm going to shave this down because I want a nice smooth look across here. Yeah, I think that's the way I want it to look. And this piece up here comes right to the top of my shoulder. So I think this is going to be okay, but looking at it right there, it's kind of scary, isn't it? So this is a good arm size, I feel like. I'm moving forward. I don't have the before, but it's in the video. My arm size, based on my sloper, was a good inch larger than what you're looking at here. After I cut it back, it's just a sliver that's left, and honestly, I probably could have gone with the original arm size from the pattern. So this pattern is a great pattern. I only needed to do the rear adjustment. This photo shows you that I cut the piece back and then I put it through the serger. And next time is part 3, attaching the skirt to the bodice. Please stay tuned and I look forward to seeing you in part 3.